Hola, guapas. The that I feel like I'm really missing out on doing this podcast is so many things happen. I have so many adventures in the course of a day that I feel like unless I do a daily recording, I'm just missing so many cool, fun things that I've done. And I think we last left off in Bali, which was like, what even is this? Couldn't get out of there fast enough, and Sonora kind of grew on me. And then I went to Lombok. So Lombok is right next door, also an island, but it's supposed to be less developed than Bali. It's supposed to be what Bali was like 10 years ago. So that's why my plan was to go to Lombok. So I booked, according to one of the ladies that I stayed with, she's like, you got to go on the big ferry because the other ones are sketchy. Like, there's a lot of accidents, and if you go on the smaller boats, people are going to get seasick and it's not fun. So go on the big ferry. So she helped me figure out how to do that. You go on this big ferry ride and it's a couple of hours, and it was fun because there was another couple in the pickup. Like, I got a ride there because it takes like an hour to get there to the port for the big ferry. Sorry, I have a cold. I have a Indonesian winter cold. Anyway, it was this really cool couple from, we're going to say they're from Australia. That's right. And they were so cool. So we got to know each other in the car and then on the ferry. And it, before I was going to Lombok, we were going to stop at the Gili Islands. So there's 3 Gili Islands. There's Gili T, which is the party. I didn't want to go there. There's Gili Mena, which is there's nothing there. There's like minimal structures. And the one in between, the Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, is like Gili Air. So that is where I went. And it's supposed to be the most chilled out island that has a lot of structure and infrastructure and things to do, but it's not the party town. So that's why I chose there. So we arrive there, and I say to my new friends, hey, maybe I'll see you for dinner. She goes, we're going to go to the pizza place. It's supposed to be amazing. I'll meet you there. There's only one pizza place. Let's go there. I'm like, cool. And so that evening I went to the pizza place, but it turns out there's 5. So I had to use my brain and research which one would they choose. So I tried to pick the one that had the best Google reviews. I'm like, this one has amazing Google reviews, 5-star, all the way, lots of reviews. This is the pizza place that they're going to. Anyway, it was not the pizza place, but it became one of my favorite restaurants on the island because it's authentic wood-cooked pizzas, but they're made with sourdough bread, and it's right on the sourdough crust, and it's right on the beach. Everybody's really nice. Everybody here, anywhere, wherever you go, they're super amazing. They're super nice. And so I went there, and I had the best pizza. And you get this big pizza. Like, there's only one size. And I got the crispy bacon, which just had bacon on it and some mushrooms. And I fell in love with it. So I've been back a couple of times. It is amazing. And then what happened? I started to discover the island. I realized that there are no cars here. There are bicycles, there's horses and carriages, and there are electric scooters, which have just come in. And the locals, the people that live here that are expats, are not happy about it because it's kind of taken away the charm. And you do see like little kids driving them, like little kids. We're talking like 7-year-old kids, and they do kind of run into each other. But for the most part, it is so peaceful and so amazing just to, be watching for horses instead of cars trying to run you over. So it's very peaceful. And you can ride your bike around the island in 45 minutes. You got to get off and walk because some of the trail ends up in sand that you can't ride your bike through. Oh my God, I'm in heaven. This is like, I've always had this vision of me in a foreign land where I can just ride a bicycle with a little bell, ding, 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 and it's got a white basket, and I go and get my food, and this is as close as it gets. It is so amazing. And the like I said, the people are amazing. Usually breakfast is included. It's still affordable here. It's island prices, so things are a little bit more expensive than in regular mainland or bigger island Indonesia places because it's a small island. But like I said, I need to like record this podcast every single day so I can tell you about my adventures, because I can't even remember all the adventures that I had. The next day I went to the beach. So this is basically what happens on Gili Air is there's a paddle court. So now I've become obsessed with paddle. I play paddle every day, making new friends. And then I snorkel every day. Every time I snorkel, I see turtles. It is insane, but I also see gray dead coral. So it's really sad. And when you see bright colored fish, they stand out in the coral because the coral is all dead. It's all gray. And these fish are just so gorgeous and colorful. And then I go for dinner and I go to the gym and I ride my bike around and I try a different restaurant every night, different food all the time. And that's kind of my day, which is amazing. It doesn't get any better than that. And so I was, you go to any restaurant or like the beach is common property. So if you go to any restaurant and just order a drink, a smoothie, a bowl, any kind of dinner, you can just use their lounge chairs for the whole day, their umbrellas, their day beds, all that kind of stuff. And so I'll find a spot and then I will snorkel and have a smoothie or food or whatever it is, spend the day in the shade reading and then dipping in and out of the water. Oh, so amazing. And of course it is, like coral, so you have to be careful. I learn, the techniques of coral because the water here is different than other waters. It's gorgeous, it's clear, it's warm, but you got to watch for getting in for coral. And when you're swimming, it can be shallow. You can't touch that coral, like accidentally scrape your leg on it because it's going to scrape your leg. Like it is sharp as sharp can be. But I'm trying to think of all the cool stories and oh, actually, here's a funny story. I was at the pizza place and I had eaten my big, huge pizza. I'm always eating it thinking like, do people think, is she going to eat all that? But then I look around and everybody eats their whole pizza. But when I was leaving that pizza place, this woman looks up at me and she goes, Heather. I'm like, sorry, what? Because I thought she said my name. And she's like, Heather. I'm like, yeah, how do we know each other? And she goes, oh, I met you at this other place that we were at. I'm like, damn, I never expect somebody to know me. And so when somebody says my name, I'm always like, and it keeps happening all the time. And it's because I'll meet somebody on a tour or on a bus or on a beach or somewhere. And if you're a solo traveler, if you chat somebody up, then that's just how you meet people. So anyway, she was traveling with her son and I had met her in another location, and it was funny because she had remembered me. And yeah, so we exchanged information and chat. We never got to hang out because she was traveling with her son, who was probably like maybe 8 or 9. And so we were kind of on different schedules. But I fell in love with Gili Air. The people are amazing. The food is, you can find everything you want, all the different types of foods. Just beautiful restaurants with beautiful people and delicious food. Insane. So from there, I just spent a couple nights. Oh, and when I was at one of those day beds, this woman next to me was getting a bracelet made, and she was with her husband, and she was getting this bracelet made, and this. So I call this woman an entrepreneur. She comes around. She's got her outlay. She's going to show you all the bracelets that she can make, and I'm like, I can't buy any more bracelets. I just can't buy from everybody. So. But then I saw what this woman was making, and she was choosing the color of the thread. She's like, I'll go with light pink. And she was making this gorgeous bracelet. So simple, but so gorgeous. I'm like, I need one of those. I'm going to get one of those, and I'm going to support this woman who was like maybe the same age as me, but working on the beach, like full hijab, head cover. Like she must have been hot, but I guess she's used to it because that's her everyday life. Super kind, super nice. And she's making this bracelet for the lady next to me, and I start chatting her up. I'm like, damn, that's a nice bracelet. And then I end up getting one, and then when I was getting one, the other woman got more made, and we kept. Muna was the lady making the bracelets, and she just, the longer she stayed, the more bracelets we got. It was so amazing. We're like I don't know. It was just like a wonderful afternoon. And then I got to know my new friends from England. That's where this couple was from. They were so lovely and swam together and exchanged information and just had so much in common. And then the next night met up with my Australian people again, and we watched the sunset and had dinner, and it was just so, so lovely. My favorite part is just jumping on the bike and going somewhere. I, for the life of me, cannot figure out, this is a small island, and I can't figure out how to get from A to B. I can't do it. And it's like really, really frustrating me because you'd think there was one main road, but it always like twists and turns. And then when it rains, some streets are flooded, and so you don't want to go down them. Like, I can't find my way. I keep getting lost. And it's so embarrassing because it's a small little island, but it doesn't matter where I go, I get lost. I can't even understand the geographical setup of the island. And I have this physical map. I'm like, here it is. I'm down here at the port. Like, I am at the southernmost tip, and I can see the island of Lombok. So I'm like, okay, I know that this is this side and there's the other island. Anyway, it's just not working for me. So after a couple of fabulous days here, I went to Lombok, the big island, and damn, it is beautiful. Like, just even driving through there, the lush jungle, monkeys, forest, like it is very untouched compared to Bali. And of course, everybody is fabulous. So I went to Kuta, which is like down in the south. It's a surfer town. That's why I went there. And it did not disappoint. It's different. Like, my past vacations, I've kind of been, I guess my first one when I coasted, I'm like, I want to surf. I want to go to places where I can surf. And I don't do that anymore because I learned when I was in Portugal, the surf instructor's like, if you want to get good at surfing, you have to surf all the time. And I'm like, I'm never going to surf all the time. So I should pick a different sport that I can get better at. So I didn't plan this around surfing. But Kuta is a surf town, so it means it has a cool vibe. And that's why I went there to check it out. It's not busy. It's like people walking, riding bikes, like just chilled. And the restaurants, cafes, next level. And it was really, really beautiful. And it kind of made me sad at the same time because Kuta Beach is not like a surf beach. And it's the beach where the locals live. When I first checked into my hotel, the guy's like, oh, if you go to Kuta Beach, it's more local. And if you go down to this beach, then it's more surfing and tourism and stuff. So I'm like, what's this local beach all about? And there's a beach walk that goes all the way along the beach. But on the other side of the beach walk, on the beach, are people's houses, locals' houses. And when I mean houses, I mean just like paper thin parchment, like the wood that is like the back of your dresser, like that. I don't know what you call it, but really, really thin wood on stilts. It's just like barely hanging on. And I felt sad because I could see that when people come here, they're going to develop it and they're going to get rid of all of those people's houses so that there can be like beach front, and they're going to build, hotels and on all the things. So it made me sad because this is like this is where they've always lived. And I can foresee its future, which is Bali. It's going to turn into a Bali. So that is not good. But on the bright side, they were having their annual cultural event where there was a parade in everybody's different beautiful costume from the different area of the island they were from, and the music and the food. And then they had 2 days of going out at 3 a.m. and collecting worms from the ocean and then eating them. And because of the folklore story of the princess who had to choose, her husband, but she couldn't, and she thought if she chose, they'd go to war, so she disappeared into the ocean. So anyway, it was like this cool story. And it's their celebration that they have every year. So the people here are amazing. Just everywhere I go, they get even more amazing if it's possible. I'm like, these are the nicest people I've ever met. And then I go somewhere else and I'm like, holy cow, they just got even nicer. I can't even believe it. And so I was walking around discovering Kuta, and then I realized that there was a beach 30 minutes down the road. And so I rented a scooter. And the guy at the hotel, he's like, are you okay driving the scooter? I'm like, yeah, as long as it's not like big city traffic, I love driving a scooter. And so he got me a scooter and he's like, okay, be careful. He was really worried about me. And I'm like, no, as long as it's not busy. And I didn't know if he's like, no, it's not busy. But then I'm like, that's like spicy hot food. If you ask a local, is this spicy? They'll say no, which means it's not spicy to them, but it's going to burn my face off. So it's all relative. So I'm like, okay, well, he says that the roads aren't busy, so I'll rent a scooter. And anyway, there was nobody on the roads, and it was such a beautiful, like you're going through this jungle, this lush green forest and palm trees, and so gorgeous. And 30 minutes later, I come across this beach, and I was not going to surf. And I found my favorite surf beach, I think, of all time. It was just gorgeous. So it's gorgeous because it's a sandy bottom. So when I bail, I'm not going to get beat up on the reef. And it's a beach break, so I don't have to like go out to it. It's like right on the beach. And the waves were so kind, so small, easy rolling waves, like so cool. And along the beach, it was just like all the surf shops. Like 20 of them. Like you just pick one and rent your board, and they all serve food. They're warangs. That's the name of like a tiny little local shop that sells food, that will make food for you. And that's all that's there. And like, I should surf because this is like a beginner surf beach. And I had no intention of surfing. So I'm like, I watched the waves for a while. I'm like, okay, I'm surfing. So I got a longboard, and it was the best surfing ever. And it was funny because when I was done surfing, I went and I sat at the warang, and I'm like, I need some food. And there was cash only because it's really small town or district or village. And so I had to pay cash. But I saw, like, I was sitting in the little, just a restaurant. It's just like a overhang. Like, it's just like a wood top, and there's chairs and table and a kitchen, and that's it, and surfboards. And I'm like, I'm starving, I gotta eat. And I only had so much cash, and because I wasn't gonna surf. And then you can rent a day bed. So the day bed is you sit at the beach, and it's under an umbrella because you cannot sit out in the sun because you will burn like bacon because you're so pasty white. And I needed to be in the shade. And so I'm like, oh, how much are one of those beach beds? And the guy's like, 50,000. I just like take off 4 zeros, so it's like $5. I'm like, damn. If I hadn't gotten that food, I could have gotten one of these chairs, and I couldn't. So I just sat at the table, ate, and then watched. And I was watching people in their chairs, and I had chair envy. I'm like, it's funny when you can't have something, how much more you want it. I'm like, God, now I'm broke. I don't have enough money to do this because it's not a card society there. And it was interesting because before I got my food at this little warang, I walked down to the end, and there was a restaurant of a nice hotel on the beach. And I thought to myself, maybe I should eat here. And it turns out I should have, because they would have accepted my card. And when you eat there, they have chairs for you. So I'm like, damn, maybe I should stay here tomorrow because I can surf at this beach. In Kuta, I can't surf, right? So it's just walking around and, going to restaurants and that. And I wanted to surf again. And so I went and I booked a room at this nice high-end hotel. And it was like top of the line. It was so good. That's where I met this woman and her son, that I met that she said my name at the pizza place. Anyway, so I came back the next day and I stayed at that hotel, and I'm like, I was on the beach. I had my own, not only did I have my own sunshine, I had my own thing, and somebody would come and say, hey, what do you want? And then I went and surfed and came back here, and it was like night and day. The day before, I was like broke and I couldn't even afford a thing. And then the next day I was living in the lap of luxury. It was amazing how quickly the tides had changed and my thoughts and feelings around it. Because I was still the same person, but one day I was like feeling like brokey broke, and the next day I was feeling like the queen. It was so funny and I used that place. They had a gym, and they had like beach shower, beach restaurant, like just everything. I did all the things. And then the next day I went surfing in the morning again because it was just so beautiful. Before I left, I'm like, I'm surfing, I'm going right from the ocean. I'll hop in my car and go to my next destination. And that's what I did because it was just so awesome. It was like a secret surprise surf beach. and Ceylon Beach, and I just loved it so much. It was just such an amazing, like a surprise, in the best possible way. And then from there, I went to Shengigi, which is just up by, because I was picking my next location, and so I had to go back up to the top of the island, Lombok, and so I'm like, oh, I'll stay a night at Shengigi just to see what it's all about. And I spent one night there, and it was a resort. The only thing, like, that's a resort town, and resorts are not my jam. Basically, you're going there and hanging out at the pool and sitting by the pool, and not my jam at all. But the breakfast was spectacular. It was this huge, huge, massive smorgasbord of just whatever you wanted. So I was in food heaven for that day. And the craziest part, like right out front of the hotel, there was a wall, and there was a surf break, and it was breaking like right on the beach, right where the wall was. And that's the only place where people were surfing. And I'm like, should I surf there? And then I talked myself out of it, because the surfing that I had just done for 3 days was so amazing. This couldn't beat it, even though they were easier waves. But if you didn't get off the wave, you would smash into the wall, and for sure, because I ride the wave right up to the beach. I am shameless. I'm just riding whitewater. I don't care, but I'll pop up every single time on that whitewater. And I probably would have just ridden it right to the cement wall. I would have probably ridden up to the stairs, walked up the stairs, and then went and had my breakfast. But I decided not to, because I wanted to ride that surfing high. And I'm just trying to think of all the adventures that I had. Like, I went to a local where right next to the hotel, like just walked down the beach 30 seconds, and they had the best fish. It was just fish and rice. And the fish, it's just a whole fish. It's still looking at you, and it was fresh caught that day and just grilled on the fire. It was so funny, because I ordered it, and it took forever. I'm like, why does this take? I was the only one there. Like, but it's at the beach. It's not a restaurant. It's just like your feet are in the sand, and there's a table, and they're grilling the fish on the barbecue right behind you. Like, why is this taking so long? And then all of a sudden, this huge group, they were local kids, and they came in. There must have been like 15 of them. And then as soon as they sat down, they had already pre-ordered their fish. That's what I realized. And so they were cooking everybody's fish at the same time, like, because I was the only other person there. So that all their fish came out, and mine came out at the same time. So that's why it took so long. I don't know. I just like I forget all my funny stories, because it's so much time has passed. But I remember this. I was walking down the stairs at the resort, and this lady was telling me a story like she had met me before, and I'm like, oh, I don't think we've met before. And she goes, oh, I thought you were somebody else. And she was letting me go down the stairs first, because she was slow. And then I went down the stairs, and I came back up. I'm like, I went the wrong way. And she looks at me, and she goes, when you don't use this, and she points at her head, and then she goes, you end up using these, and she points at her legs. I'm like, hey, you're right. I didn't think about it, and I gotta walk more. I gotta do more. And sure as shit, after I talked to her, I went to go, I'm trying to find this place to eat, and I went down the side of the hotel, and it blocked off, and I had to come back again. And then I was going to go down the street, and I thought, oh, I could walk on the property, and I went down, and it was blocked off, and I had to come back again. I'm like, what, that woman is taunting me. Like, she totally called it. She's like, if you don't use your head, you're going to be walking a lot. And I backtracked 3 times after she said that to me, and I'm like, she put a hex on me or something. It was so bizarre. It was so bizarre. And I'm like, London, she's right. I've got to think about this one. I got to pay attention to where I'm going and really think about this before I choose between A and B, the path less traveled, or just go this way because that's the way to go. Anyway, I had some lovely adventures, and Lombok was amazing. And it's like more of a natural state of what I expected, like an Indonesian island to be, as opposed to Bali, which was like crazy people, crazy traffic, crazy, like just way too much for me. The vibe was different. We're talking temples, and everybody's putting out like their blessings, in the front of their business in Bali, and just the most beautiful humans, and there's lots of rice fields and all that. And then Lombok is different. It's a Muslim island, but the people are just so fantastic. And I loved both adventures. Because they are so different. Anyway, I can't even remember if like anything crazy happened, But nonetheless, that's where I was at right now, where I'm at right now. No, I'm on to my next location, but that's what happened just before this, so I'm almost caught up. But I'm at my new location and I've been here for a while and I've had some really funny adventures, and I will put them in my brain so that I can tell them to you in my next episode. And really, remember, all this is a diary, a visual and an audio diary for me, so that when I look back on this experience, I can remember all the cool things that I did and all the cool people that I met. And I'm just, offering it up to you as entertainment or inspiration. If you want to follow along with me, then it's here for you. So thank you for listening. Always, always, always love yourself first and have an amazing day.